Welcome to Mobile Applications and OutSystems. In this session, we're going to discuss how mobile apps can be created inside of OutSystems and how we can divide different parts of the applications into modules. To do that, we'll have to discuss modular programming in OutSystems and look a little bit at how producers and consumers can share the modules that are created. So let's go ahead and get started. Applications in OutSystems can either be web apps, mobile apps, or service apps. So when we start the new wizard, we have to choose one of our three choices, and obviously we'll be focusing on mobile apps. The reason for deciding the applications at the beginning is because the web and mobile applications in OutSystems follow slightly different programming models. So the applications become the deployment unit in the OutSystems platform, and we can version and tag them for easier management. So from the very beginning, we need to know what type they are so we can set up those applications properly. Now, mobile apps in OutSystems are able to run on Android or iOS devices, and we can create one application and have it target and run on both platforms, and the underlying generated code will handle that for us. Now, inside of OutSystems, mobile apps are also what are sometimes referred to as SPAs, or single-page applications. And they are cross-platform and standard-based, because any of the plugins that we are using are Cordova-based. So inside of the device, there is a model view controlling capability that single-page application is using. Now, how that is implemented, some of it may be actually native code, some of it may just be JavaScript and web resources, but in general, the application is able to stand on its own and be its own single-page application, and when it needs data or other types of information, it can make RESTful service calls back to the server. And in this case, the server is actually implementing all of its logic, storing its data, and etc., using C# and the Microsoft stack. And then it makes the responses back in REST, and the device can go ahead and work on the information that has come back as far as displaying it and interacting with the user. Now, when we go to create a mobile app, again, we will select mobile app in the wizard to begin with. And then from there, it's going to ask us to choose a template. So there is a phone template, a tablet template that focuses on the size and the characteristics of those types of devices a little more specifically, and there's also a universal where maybe you're not sure that the app is going to run on a phone or a tablet, or it needs to run on both. You can use the universal to go ahead and deal with that. So once we select a template, then we begin defining information about our application. So our app's basic info includes something like a title, a description. We're allowed to choose a default color if we want, or if we want to do something a little more interesting, we can upload an icon to represent our app and then choose one of the colors from that icon to be the default color. We'll also go ahead and get the basic information about the application and then decide which modules will exist inside that application. So by default, an application will have one module to start with, and that module will have the same name as the application, just without the spaces. And when we're ready, we can go ahead and click Create Module, and that will allow us to begin editing and creating code in that module. So our application is actually a set of modules, and the code or the implementation of what we're doing is inside of the module itself. Now, all applications should have at least one module, because if we don't have a module to hold the behavior and the code that we're producing, then there's nothing there, and the application is actually not able to do anything. So we should always have at least one module. There are different module types in mobile. We can have a mobile module, a mobile blank module, a service module, or an extension module. So we'll discuss and learn more about these different module types, but in general, when we're building mobile apps, we usually focus on the mobile or the mobile blank versions of those, unless we're reusing services or extensions that have been created for us. Now, speaking of creating and sharing and reusing, modular programming is a software design technique that allows each module to encapsulate everything necessary to execute one specific aspect of functionality. And then we can separate these functionalities and keep them independent and hopefully replaceable as far as pieces of code. So over here, we may be creating a large time tracking system. And if we have timesheets, they need to know about the projects, and the projects need to know which employees are working on those projects. So the employee directory may get called to find the employees for the projects, and then finance may wish to be able to bill those projects and check the timesheets for how long people have worked. If we take each of these concepts and create a module that implements everything that finance needs or everything that the timesheet needs, then we can go ahead and focus on that key set of functionality and keep it separated from the rest of the code. So instead of having one huge monolithic piece of code, we can break them into different modules. Now inside of OutSystems, we set an application groups a set of related modules and then allows us to deploy those modules as an application. So we might divide up some of these individual modules that focus on their key aspects into different applications. Now, just because the modules are in different applications doesn't mean they can't share the elements that they have with other modules. So modules that are going to share features are called producers, and modules that consume or use those features are called consumers. And producers and consumers can be, as we mentioned, in different applications. So if we look at a specific example, here the timesheets module is actually reusing things from projects, and it also needs information from employees. The projects are inside the project control application, so they exist together. The employees are in a human resources application, but the timesheet can still reuse some of the features and components from employees. And timesheets itself can make certain capabilities public that are going to be used by the finance module inside the finance application. So modular programming allows us to create capabilities that can stay focused but still produce or share different things with other modules. Now the producers will need to decide what to make public or what to share with other modules. Inside of OutSystems, the following elements are allowed to be made public. Data, which includes entities and structures. We can make certain logic, server actions and roles public. Different parts of the user interface and processes can also be made public. Now to do that, we would go, and here's an example of a movie entity being stored in the database. That movie entity has a public property. And if we set that public property to yes, that means that it can now be shared outside of this module. So other modules will be able to discover this entity for the movies and be able to use it. So consumers will be able to reuse those public elements that are made available from the producers. And to do that, they'll need to use managed dependencies. And that allows us to look for modules that have made features public and then go ahead and select the elements from those that we wish to consume. So here we can see the managed dependency icon inside of the menu bar. And when we click managed dependencies, it brings up a dialog box that allows us to search for producers. And if we can find a producer that might have some elements that we're interested in, it will display the elements that are there. So here, if we wanted to be able to check the barcode scanning device or actually scan the barcode, these are things that the barcode scanning plugin have made available. So as a producer, they're available, and now we can consume them by just clicking the checkbox and selecting them to be consumed. So that's it for mobile applications and OutSystems. We discussed creating mobile applications and the fact that they will have modules inside them. Modular programming inside of OutSystems allows us to have producers that will share information and consumers it will consume those pieces of information in the modules to be able to use that capability. So that's it for mobile applications and OutSystems. Thanks for listening.